Page 24, Hark the Herald Angels Sing. I'm going to go through my process to learn a piece of music here. I look it over first. I see it's 2 pages long. Okay, I like to have an idea of just how much music I'm tackling. Check the clef signs, treble and bass clef, because they could be anything. You got to watch out. 1 sharp in the key signature. We're either in the key of G major or E minor. So I look at the end at the bottom of page 25. The last chord there here. It's a G major chord. I figure we're in the key of G major. As far as the scales go, I'm going to do the major and minor scale with that key signature. So here it would be the G major and the E minor scale. I would do them both. I do the scales and arpeggios according to key signatures, how I practice it. You do it any way you want. That's how I do it. And then the time signature is 4/4 time. I want to take it one hand at a time and make sure I understand what each hand is doing and what kind of fingering is involved here. Starting with the right hand, we start with measure 3. Remember the numbers at the beginning of the lines and the little boxes above, those are measure numbers. You don't get one at the first because there's no point. I mean, it's obviously measure 1. They don't need a measure number there. But measure 3, I'm here and here. That put me in this position. Don't forget the F sharp. It's in the key signature. And it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then the thumb comes under. So I changed the hand positions. 3 and 4. And now I'm in this position, and then the thumb comes down, and then right here, I really don't like that fingering on measure 6. But I'm kind of stuck with it because of what came before. It's a 4th finger, and I have to do that. So we'll live with it. And then lift up and come down. Do it again. Now, ending measure 8, you're here. Measure 9 is here. You up here, that's a stretch. So I think to help me out here, rather than 4th finger, I'm going to use 3rd finger on that A. This way I'm a little closer to the D on measure 9. So it's measure 8 is here, and you stretch up a little bit here, 3rd finger. And now I can get that. Now to measure 9, I don't want to come up here. So I'm going to go here, 2, 3. They're repeated notes, and I can change hand positions on repeated notes. So I just here. And then for measure 10, I do a 1/4. Again, I got repeated F sharps. Here, and then a 2, 3. This way I can connect them comfortably. So I'm doing measure 10 is here, and then here, and here. That's how I recommend doing it. And then you just reach up to the octave. Now, measure 12. I would prefer not to do this. So, I have repeated B's. That's it. Yeah. So I'm going to change hand positions on their B's. So I'm going to 4, and again it's going to be a 1/4, 2, 3. Now I use this 1/4, 2, 3 quite a bit when black keys are involved. This way I don't have to come up here, and I can connect both notes, because otherwise you can't. Here is how I want to do it. And then again, same thing. Now just reach up. You kind of got to move. That's fine. And I think we're good. Left hand went down here. Broken chords at the beginning. That's fine. We can handle that, I hope. And then measure 3, F sharp. I think this is okay. And measure 10 here. If you don't want to be up in here for the half note, then just reach up and use 2, 3. Depends on how big your hands are and how fat your fingers are. Fingering in the book is fine. Now measure 15, we're okay here. And they want a thumb again. And that's okay, you can do that. I really don't like doing a 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2 like that if I don't have to. But there's nothing wrong with it. I typically, in this case, in measure 16, would just stay where I'm at. And it'd be a 4 here, and then a thumb. So measure 15, it would be that, and then a 3, 4, and then a thumb. different ways of fingering it. You decide what you want. If it's different than the book, pencil it in and stick with it. Same thing on measure 20. Finger this the same way you did up above. And then the last measure, you're here, and then here. You gotta come up, and then here. That's all right. Put the hands together. Now when I go to put the hands together, it's usually a whole new adventure. I just want to know which notes are going down together, and I hesitate all over, don't care. Starting at measure 3, we're here, and then here, and then here, and here. Hold that down, and then we're here, and here. It's just left-handed C by itself, and then come down. You go through and put the hands together. And then I go back through it, the hard parts, if there are any, usually are, and I work on those spots and kind of iron them out a little bit. Then I go through it a few hundred times and get rid of any hesitations. No hesitations anywhere. The beat has to be a steady beat all the way through. Don't get into the mindset, well, I'll fix it later. No, the hesitation becomes part of your playing. You practice the hesitation. Get rid of it immediately. Don't let them stick around. And once I have that, then I think about the articulation. Well, here all we have really are, we have some tenutos and slurs. So, melody. I'm not sure about their slurring. I would connect by the phrase. If you can figure out where the musical sentences are, lift up between them there. Otherwise, you connect them. And you can follow the words if you want on the phrases. Just I'm just lifting up. Now, for me, when I'm trying to figure out where the phrases are, I have to play the melody kind of quick. That way I can hear the phrases more clearly. That's just how I do it. I'm just trying to figure out where the phrases are because they're not marked in the music. Now the words are there. I can follow the words for the phrases if I want to. See, the thing with following the words is you have to be careful because when you have multiple verses like this, the sentences in the words may not always be the same length. And if I'm following the words, that means the phrases in the music are not going to be the same length. And is that really what I want? Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. I have to make that adjustment. Just if a person were singing it, when would they take a breath to go on? And that's kind of usually a phrase, yeah. The left hand, I recommend you try and connect it as much as you can all the way through. Now you have some tenutos there, like a measure, 11 here? Different people interpret tenuto, these little lines above the notes, they interpret them differently. To me, you linger on the note. You hold it out as full as long as you can. Hold it out as full value as you can. Don't cut it a little bit short. No, you hold it on. But some people, the tenuto is a bit of a stress mark too. You'll have to decide how you want to interpret the tenutos here, or your teacher will tell you. Generally, you'll play these out, but connect them as best you can. And I tend to play them out. Just interpreting it, I tend to play them out anyway. Now, once I have the articulation down, then I think about the dynamics. See, I just do this one thing at a time. The first line is P for piano. That's soft, and you'll have to decide what soft is. I don't know, you decide. Then at measure 3, MF is mezzo forte, and that applies to the melody wherever it is. Here it's in the right hand, whatever you think sort of loud is. Moderately loud. This left hand needs to stay soft. Can you play one hand slightly heavy and the other hand light at the same time? You feel a little awkward. It comes in time, but I keep trying, yeah. It's important to have that kind of control. As for the speed, well, it says moderately, not too fast. I guess people tend to want to play this a little bit fast. Just in the middle. It's a triumphant, it's more like a processional. It's like here we are. We're happy and proud and all that stuff. You'll have to decide what that is. To me, it depends on how much coffee or wine or whatever I've had to drink, and it's eggnog or whatever. Somewhere in the middle. But that's fine. Somewhere in the middle is fine. Don't drag it. Make it move, but don't go quick. And then, of course, they've added pedal. And we'd like to have some overtones here. This is big and yay, everybody's here and all that. But we have to be careful because we don't want to smear it up too much. We want to be able to enjoy the melody without it. It's not a bunch of bells where everything's run together. I'm going to do the overlapping pedal or the lag pedal. It's where the notes go down first and then the pedal. I want to start the sound before I release the dampers. Before I release the overtones. And then when I change the pedal, like between measures 3 and 4, when you change the pedal, just up and down, that happens right after I play the notes. So it overlaps it just a little bit. This ensures I always have sound coming. And it has to be a very short overlap. Otherwise, people will hear it and But it needs to be a slight overlap, because if you're a little off, you could actually do it too soon, and then you have possible silence, you lose notes, and it's not continuous, it's not smooth. So at the beginning, I push the note down and then the pedal, and then measure 3, change it after See, already that's too much for me. That's too blurry. I don't want all that. So I have to adjust it. I can change it maybe every 2 beats and see what that does. That cleans it out quite a bit. So I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to change the pedal on measure 3 every 2 beats, and any other measure like that every 2 beats instead of the whole thing. Measure 4, you don't pedal the last beat. So right after you play beat 3, lift the pedal up, and then here. See, now they're telling you to change the pedal. And on measure 6, every time. This keeps it clean, because otherwise it would be. It just says, no. So you have to listen to the sound very carefully. Again, this is why I always learn a piece without pedal, so that I can hear what the fingers are doing. So when I add pedal, I understand the difference. Now on measure 11 here, that's okay, because this is really and there's nothing there but these notes. So yeah, we want the overtone. But right after I play the notes in measure 12, I let up. And they want here, well, if you use the fingering I told you to use here, you don't need to pedal there either on measure 12. I can connect it with the fingers. I don't need the pedal for that, so I can leave it out. Then pedal. Again, on measure 14, I don't need the pedal there, because if I can connect it with the hand, if you're using their finger, then you got to use a pedal, because you can't connect that. Now, and then. A little bit about going from measure 16 to 17. I'm going to lift up in the right hand. It's a new phrase. I'm going to connect the left hand. So pretty much I'm pedaling it like they're showing. I just made a couple minor changes. Now if you're going to do the 3 verses or 2 verses or whatever, you pretend there's a repeat sign at the bottom of page 25. You simply go back and repeat it. However, you don't need to do the introduction. The first 2 measures, don't do those every time between the verses. Just go back to, repeat back to measure 3 and just keep going. Keep a steady beat going. Now there is a style of performing where they have multiple verses, and right before the last verse, they'll do the introduction again. They'll do some sort of an interlude again. So in that case, if you want to try that, then you do first verse, then repeat back to measure 3 and do the second verse, and then repeat back to the beginning and do the introduction. That's going to be your interlude between the last two verses, if that's how you want to do it. You decide how you want to do it. You don't have to. You could repeat back to measure 3 again and go with the last verse if you want. It's just sometimes they will put an interlude before the last verse. It's getting ready. Get ready for the climax. Here we go, folks, or something. For this lesson, I'm not going to repeat it. I'm just going through it one time because I'm not singing. I don't sing in my videos. They're stressful enough already. You can, if you want, put in a retardando at the end, but if you're going to do multiple verses, only do it on the last verse you're going to do. Otherwise, you got to keep a steady beat going because it messes up the singers if you start slowing down in places. They don't know what you're doing. They know you're slowing down. They don't know for how long or how much or whatever. So just keep a steady beat going until the very last verse. If you want to slow down, that's fine.